let's jump. So this is Sam. I'm called a Polish Sam because he's from Poland. But yeah, Sam was one of my first students inside Club Closer. And yeah, he's had a lot of success since becoming a closer. So Sam, I'll leave it over to you if you want to just introduce yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the intro. 25, been in this space for about 10 months, although not that much. I believe I've pretty much brushed shoulders with one of the best. And to be honest, if it wasn't for that one DM from Marcus like those 10 months ago, I mean, obviously wouldn't be here, right? I would be just, like I said many times to him, I would be just slamming my head against the wall, trying to set up my, completely, remote agency with that was gonna be, require me like zero amount of time to actually put into it, but which we know how it actually ended up, right?
So
Nowhere.
what was your situation obviously before we got in
Yeah.
contact? Like what were you doing before? Because you're pretty successful
Yeah.
on the front end, right? Like it's not like you need an agency or you need to do closing.
No, yeah. My thing is like I have a short-term rental agency here in Poland. Pretty much like tourist rentals, all that stuff. I have 16 units here in Krakow, Poland. So in terms of money, right? Like obviously I didn't have to do it, but I mean I wanted to. The reason I looked into an agency, like my ambitions, I feel exceed what I was getting from the real estate agency. So I was thinking like I thought that agency was a good vehicle for me, but then I put months in and seemingly with like no return, and I was just like I said earlier, just slamming my head on the desk like all the time, just trying to figure out how to set it up properly, like what even like products should I be pushing out there, and like what's my delivery gonna be, right? And in reality, like if we didn't have the conversation, I think I would have gone for a month, maybe more, but it would have been like a month or two, and I would have just tried to find something else, because the reality of things is like it all seemed too good to be true with the agency, and I kind of felt it was. So when I jumped on a call with you, I remember this is the funniest thing. I didn't do much research about closing. I didn't really know much what that is. And it just like, whilst we had that conversation, right? It just occurred to me like, damn, that makes sense, right? Like, why don't I just actually get better at sales? Which to me was also like, well, I lacked communication skills. I lacked like that confidence of like, interacting with people. I mean, even the first call we had, I didn't even have my camera on, right? You
Oh,
remember?
you're like a different guy from when we met like 9 months
Yeah,
ago, like
yeah,
personality
100%.
wise. Like your confidence has gone through the roof. It's nuts.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I
And
appreciate it. Yeah,
Matthias says that to me all the time as well. He's like, yeah, Sam's a different dude.
yeah. And bro, like it was crazy because I was so camera shy that I needed those like, remember when we had those like competitions for like the amount of reps we put in with the other guys in the community.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
was I was slamming the most roleplays ever, and this was just to like get that edge, in a sense, like okay, I'm more comfortable like talking to random people now, right? But still, when I jumped on my actual first live sales call, Jesus Christ, like I was stuttering at the beginning. I just butchered it. It was bad, but long story short, couple hundred calls later, um, I would say I'm fairly confident if like pretty much talking to anyone, right?
Yeah, you're doing pretty well with it, I would say.
Yeah.
So I guess like what was obviously like, what do you think held you back with the agency in terms of like why didn't you think you managed to have success there?
Uh, it's so this is the thing, right? Like I came from like running the business for, at that point it was like 5 years, right? So I
Yeah,
felt
because
like
bro,
okay,
you know how to run a business, right?
exactly,
Like,
yeah. So I felt like okay, if these guys can do it, like those 18, 17, 19 year olds, or like Eman, right? Like then I mean, if these guys can do it, I can do it myself, right? So I jumped in there, and long story short, it's a complete different industry to what I do. It's in the online space. I don't know anything, and the worst part was actually like I didn't know how to sell it. So the only thing I could have done at that point is either pretty much outsource everything, like some of the guys were telling me to do, which is like,
mhm.
okay, like, I have the money to do it, but
Bro,
Like, do
yeah,
I actually want to do it?
you could have splashed so much cash trying to build an agency.
Yeah, and like for what reason, right? Like at the end of the day, like for me, I think the only reason I never started with an agency, like probably I never scaled it, is like delivery for me was like always up here, and yeah, I knew I couldn't have delivered that, so it was just like a massive roadblock. So I could have either offered my own offers for zero whilst paying up thousands for outsourcing other people, or I could have just found something else. Right.
Yeah, and I think that's it. Like sales is probably the core of that because
Yeah.
think about like your business with the Airbnbs, right?
Yeah.
Is like they kind of sell themselves, like how
Pretty
you
much.
market them, how
Yeah.
you do the pitches. Like there's no sales pitch from you. Like you don't have to do too much selling and convincing a
No.
person to stay in your
Yeah.
place. Whereas, if you're delivering a service, it's like you have to portray the value of that service and you have to show the person how it be valuable, how they would benefit. So it's very different to what you were currently doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's obviously you managed to make it work and you obviously pivoted to closing.
Yeah.
Um, be cool to hear like I guess like when did you join Club Closer again? It was nearing on a year now, right?
It's gonna be, I think it's gonna be 10 months or 11, 10 and a
Yeah.
half months or something. Because I joined in like middle of November.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So like what's your experience like over the last like first 6 months getting into the space, having never
Yeah.
sold anything like on
Mm.
a Zoom call, never got any sales experience to now like,
Yeah.
we'll get onto it, but you're pushing like 18K months. So
Yeah. So the thing was, I truly believe if I did it, like anyone can do it. Because like there's people, first of all, I'm not a native English speaker, I'm Polish, so there's still sometimes ways I just like twist words, twist sentences to make it like completely incoherent. So that's first roadblock. Second one was, I was, like I said earlier, I was so camera shy and scared of those like interactions, and like even people saying no to me, like I dreaded for the longest time like having objections, right? But yeah, and I still push through it because like at the back of my head, I just had this, okay, like you either push through it and you get to where you want to be, you get to become one of the best. And obviously I'm still not there, I'm trying to be. But and the other side was just like, just give up and just go back to the reality, right? The and it wasn't a bad reality, but the thing is like for me it was just gonna be like being mediocre, right? Like I know I can push myself to go a little bit further and push harder. So like, why not? And there's nothing wrong with having a mediocre life, but I just see much more out of life for myself.
yeah, 100%, 100%. And I guess like from the point of joining Club Closer, like
Yeah.
what was sort of some of the action steps you did in order to like, get you to where you are today? Or like to actually like,
Yeah.
find progress and actually have success with it. Because you didn't just sit and watch course content. Because
No,
that's
no,
not
no,
going to get you
absolutely
anywhere.
not. No, like for the people that just rely on the education, right? Like at the end of the day, you have to put it into practice, right? Like obviously, first step is to like, my first step was to get enough courage to jump on a call with one, the other students, and actually start practicing what we were, being taught. So that was the first big step. Second big step was just putting as many of those reps in as possible, so I can actually become fluent. I can become, you know, somewhat more confident and be less camera shy and be less awkward, all that stuff. I'm still working on it. Obviously, it's a work in progress. Um, but it's just taking those little steps, and I suppose it's just fighting that edge, right? Like when, like at the end of the day, like we all have 24 hours a day, but with all due respect, like not everyone in this space is actually going to get to where they want to get. It's just like the actions that they take on a daily basis and the amount of urges they fight. Because at the end of the day, like we can all always go partying, we can all go and play games, we can go watch TV, but it's just like the more you fight, the more you build that muscle, right? And the stronger the muscle, it's just so much easier to actually keep pushing and pushing. So um to answer that question, I don't know. I think it's just like, if your reason why you want to do this is strong enough, I truly believe there's no reason why you wouldn't be successful.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And like what, because your first offer wasn't necessarily the best offer, right?
No,
And it wasn't, and you got it through, I think Matthias, right? The
yeah,
Club Closer Network kind of got you it. But like, talk us through that. Like, what, obviously, I don't think you made the most money in the world there, but like, I
yeah.
think that was valuable for you to learn the ropes, put in the reps, and then obviously it's kind of catapulted you into things.
Oh, it has, and we might want to cut out the beeping. Do you mind if I cut you for a second?
Yeah,
Yeah, but what was the
sweet.
question?
We're back. So yeah, talk us through your first offer and sort of how that,
Yeah.
catapulted the growth.
Um, so I was getting sales on that offer, but it was so much work, and as someone that is completely shy and someone that has like no experience in sales, I jumped into alpha that was multiple five figures, and I was speaking to multi-millionaires, high level execs, all that stuff. And I think that prepared me to like actually go super far in closing, because like, all of a sudden when you're speaking to those, posturing people, A-type people, very dominant on the calls, and obviously not trying to fight with them like for dominance of the call, but like, that's just cringe, right?
Maintain frame, right?
Maintain frame essentially, right? um that prepared me greatly for all the other offers I had, and across those two offers I had at some point, because of this experience I was able to get 18K. That was the top, and on average this was anywhere between 13 to 15K a month. So from going on an offer where I was making like 3 to 6K, which it wasn't bad, but for the amount of time and effort I was putting into it, I was doing outbound calls, I was doing inbound calls, I was taking care of the whole funnel, I was taking care of the whole email marketing, all that stuff, and all the following up. It was so much work for not really that much benefit. But if I
You
if
threw
I had
yourself in at the
yeah.
deep end, to be honest.
Oh
Like you
yeah.
went with an offer that
Yeah.
wasn't necessarily the best, but
Yeah.
I think what you learned there, you then obviously transitioned into the next offers, which I think
100%.
actually allowed you to hit sort of that 18K, 15K consistently. Like
Yeah.
that was the reasoning behind it, I think.
Yeah, 100%, man. And if it wasn't for those interactions with those people at that high level, I wouldn't be able to stand my ground with like the day-to-day people. It's a different ball game, right? Which is why people say, well, if you get into sales, maybe it's smarter to first get started with the B2C and then transition slowly to B2B,
You
right?
did it the other way around, right?
I did
Yeah.
it the other way around, and I had decent success because of it. Although the success was in the B2C space, yeah. In
Yeah,
the
for
B2B
sure.
space, it was still pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting. And I guess like, what would you say is like the biggest lesson or your
Yeah.
biggest takeaway from obviously now being in the space and having success with it? Like,
Mm.
what's the most important thing for you that like, if anyone new coming into closing or was looking to do it, like what would your recommendation be in terms of like this is what your focus should be on, this is what you should do?
It might sound a little bit philosophical in a sense, and
Let's
I
hear
don't
it.
mean to be Socrates or anyone, but it's like I found it so hard to sometimes help people overcome their own objections. And the reason was I didn't necessarily know how to overcome them myself, because I never had the opportunity to actually overcome it. And then when I faced those, devils inside, I was able to, I actually understand it, right? Because to think about it, the pattern and all that stuff. At the end of the day, right now, when I jump on a call, like if I'm to buy anything, it's a 5 minute call, right? So
Are you an easy sell? Is that what you're saying?
I'm an instant close. I'm an
Yeah.
instant close.
Bro, me
That's
too.
the thing. Yeah. I mean, like there's a saying in this space that if you're a poor, I was gonna say a different word. If you're a poor closer, if you're not a good closer, you're gonna give all the objections, all that stuff on the call. And if you're a good closer, you already come in prepared. Like I mean, like I said, all the calls right now. The recent call I had when I bought a another mentorship, it wasn't a five figures investment, right? I didn't even understand the guy properly because I had a different audio, and I just bought it like this because I mean I already did my own due diligence on the on on that stuff. So yeah,
Yeah, but it is just take. I think this is the thing with like anything, right? It's just like taking action. Like if you want
100%.
something, you got to take action. You got to do something that's going to put you in the right direction, and actually drive you forward instead of
Yeah,
just pondering on it and saying like, "Oh yeah, let me think about it. Let me do it next week." It's like, nah, like nothing's
it's
going to change. You're going to be in the same
not.
spot you were this week,
Yeah,
so just
yeah.
you might as well do it now.
Yeah, it's when you're in the uncomfortable, this is where the progress happens, right? Like if you can step over the line and you can take, all that responsibility and the commitment to actually put in the work in that one moment, that is like for me, it's enough to say, okay, this guy is on a good track. Because if you're just like, beating around the bush, if you're just a, tire kicker, like we want to call it sometimes, um, like it's just not really the route. Like I can respect it, everyone has a different sort of decision making process, but like learning from the successful people, and I think that's the only way really. They take action pretty much this way.
Yeah, 100%.
Calculated risk, but when they know that this works for them, they'll just jump in.
Yeah, instead of just sitting on the fence, and because I guess not taking a decision is a decision in itself.
100%.
It's the worst decision
100%.
to take, right? Like I think it's the worst decision to take. Like
Yeah.
at least say no, you know?
At least say, yeah, like at least have the balls to say no, and don't beat around the bush. Like you can be I'm not inviting someone to be not polite to me, but like if you want to say no, just say no. If you want to say yes, say yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
exactly it. So actually we could probably wrap things up shortly here, but
yeah,
there's a couple more questions I want to ask.
sure.
One, like what you're working on right now. Like
Yeah,
what's I don't know how much you want to share because obviously I
sure.
appreciate you don't want to share too much, but like I think last time we spoke or recently you were looking for a new offer. Now
Yeah.
you might have landed one. What are you working on? What's
Yeah,
that look like?
so in the time I was looking for an offer, obviously, I'm not opposed to saying no to an awesome offer. Like in this space, no one is. But the reality of it is like at this point, once you know how to, leave a good track record behind yourself, like actually network properly with the guys on the offers, uh, actually establish good relationships with people. In a matter of, I think it was 9 days, 9 working days, I had 14 interviews, right? And
14.
14, yeah. And those weren't like, I was desperately seeking out those interviews. I was just being connected. It was a referral after a referral. So that was a cool experience. But that's definitely something I've been like working for at that point, like for 9 months, like, every single day, just, establishing those good relationships. And yeah, and I think for me now, it's just gonna be having that consistency in my determination. Well, not maybe not determination, but my dedication to the craft. Like for me, there's no other route than be the best. Although acknowledging how hard it is to be the best, uh, but like for me, there's no other way. Like I'm either gonna be the best, or I'm gonna die trying. And for me, it's worth to either way, it's gonna be worth it, right? If I die trying, at least I tried it, right? If I
But what I
if
love
I
about
yeah,
you is like you have learned this skill, you've monetized this skill pretty
yeah,
quickly, and like you now know your worth. Like you know you can sell. You know if you go into any business that gives you good leads and gets calls in your calendar, you're gonna close.
yeah,
So like, and you've done it in such a way that like opportunities come to you now, and that's how it should be, right? Is like how
100%.
these opportunities come into you because you're well respected in the space, you're getting well known, but
Yeah,
you don't operate out of desperation. And I
no,
don't know whether that's because you've got this other business that's doing so well, or you just know your worth. And you're like, well, you know what? Like when the
yeah,
right offer comes, I'll jump on it. But like, I'm in no rush. I don't need to suddenly work for
yeah,
anyone for the sake of it. It's like I want to work with someone that we share values with.
yeah.
The business does
Oh,
well. I can help them grow. They can help me grow.
spot on, spot on. Like I think it's both, right? Like, obviously having this business that, I mean, honestly, because of the skills I've learned, like being in sales, like seeing how the online companies operate, like I mean, I'm at the most profitable months ever, right? So like running this business while also, like doing, at some point I was doing university, I was running my own business, and I was also looking for like two closing offers, right? So like, there's no excuses there.
Yeah, everyone's
But
got time.
everyone's got time, 100%. If Elon Musk has the time to run, five or six multiple, like, multi-million or billion companies, like, you have the time, right? So, but like, I think the abundance comes from, like, obviously knowing my worth, but like for me, like, okay, like, money is great, but like, when I jump on an offer, like, for me, the most important thing is, like, actually, are we having a positive impact on someone? Like, is the offer good enough for me to stand and put my name behind it? Because, like for me, I don't know, like, money's great, but at the end of the day, like, how sometimes can you sleep at night? Like, if you're just like on an offer that you don't, like, you deep down know, like, okay, like, this isn't really helping anyone, right? And yeah, like, I don't know if I would be able to like do that. But yeah, definitely just taking my time, definitely just taking my time and actually making sure I learn with the right people. But it's not also just the fact, like, I want to grow, and having the environment to grow within that company, it's awesome. Like, I have a opportunity in 2 months' time. It's not really set in stone yet, but that's gonna be with a previous sales manager, not sales manager, sorry. One of the more successful students, like first students from Jeremy Minor, OG in this space. I'm not gonna drop names, but if you know, you know, as we like to say it. So yeah, that's gonna be exciting. So looking forward to the future, and then really seeing how things go from there. Yeah.
Sick, bro. Yeah, I think you've got big things coming for
Oh,
sure. It's crazy to think you've been in the space, online space, less than a year.
yeah.
So it'll be yeah, it'd be interesting to see where you end up.
And one thing I'm gonna add on that is just like being in this space for, like you said, less than a year. Like, I now truly understand, like, what you meant, like, in terms of the network and all that stuff. Like, I made more no, not maybe powerful, but like more meaningful relationships within this space in 10 months than I have, like, running my own business, real estate business here in Poland, like, in 5 or 6 years at this point, which is crazy to me, right? The fact that I have direct numbers to multi millionaires, people, running half a billion company, $1 billion company. It's just something that I knew it's going to happen, but I didn't just know that's going to happen as fast. So if someone's really researching the imposter syndrome, it's not that hard to fall into it. But, like, I mean, at the end of the day, like, that's part of everyone's journey, right?
For sure. And
Yeah.
let's end on like what's like one bit of advice you would give to anyone or like words of wisdom that wants to come into the space or is considering it over like agency
Yeah.
or like moving out of their traditional sales job, the
Right.
9 to 5, and they're like sort of on the fence about it.
I would say, like, it's I don't want to sound like cheesy or anything, but it's like it's gonna be worth it, right? Like, if we're thinking long term, this is the space, right? Because if you think that, like, especially for the guys that are in the 9 to 5 sales, uh everything's to everything right now, like, even part of your job is mostly online, right? So why not just go and realistically take, if you're good, take 5 6x times the the money you can earn. And if you get good, you can even make upwards of 50 60 70K. I was on an offer with a guy that was making 80 grand a month, right? So for those that are looking for growth, definitely this is the space to go. But, like, in terms of the advice, as cringy as it's gonna sound, it's just don't give up, and just have it like your goal is here, your dream life is here, and the other side is, like, you just go back to reality. Just envision that reality as harsh and as brutal as you can, and trust me, like, anytime you're leaning towards your reality, you're just always going to, you're going to be straightened back and get back on the track to put in what's necessary, because it's uncomfortable as hell. Like, at the beginning, like, every single thing I had to do was uncomfortable as hell. So
Meant to be, right? It's meant to be.
It's meant to be like that. That's where the growth comes from. So yeah, I mean, just keep pushing. As cringy and as cliche as it sounds, just like I would say this, like no matter the obstacle, just find a way. Know that you're not alone, and that's the reality of things. Like surround yourself with guys that are on the same journey as you. Surround yourself with people that can share your insights, all that stuff, and just keep pushing forward because if I'm being honest, like if it wasn't for the guys when I was in Club Crozen that at the beginning, Zaki, Joe, Matthias, then later on Sam, I don't think I would have pushed as hard, to be honest, because it was just the fact that we were just there, like constantly every single day. We had busy schedules then, obviously not what we have right now, but we still managed to find the time to jump at these like 3, 4, practice sessions every single day, right?
It's
So
just, you were
having
just consistent. You were just ruthlessly
100%,
consistent with it. And I think, yeah, that's one of the reasons you've had the success you've had.
yeah. I just like this. I just like the word relentless, and I just try and be relentless at everything I do.
Yeah. Sick.
Because like if you're relentless, there's like no competition because everyone else is gonna give in at some point. Yeah. So take calculated, measurable steps and just keep pushing forward. Yeah.
100%, bro.
Yeah.
100%. Well, sweet, Sam. Look, appreciate you obviously jumping on.
I
And
appreciate the invitation.
I guess like finish up here, like, because I
Yeah.
think anyone that is looking to hire you in the future, I think they're gonna find you through this video.
Uh,
You're
it would
obviously
be
very good
awesome.
at what you
Sure.
do.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd recommend Sam to anyone that obviously is looking for a closer, but he
Yeah.
probably won't work with you unless you got a solid offer. So Sam, like how's best for them to like reach out or like find you? Or like is there anything you want to plug in
Yeah.
terms of socials or anything?
I suppose what we could plug is we have the pod with Sam and Sean, although it's pretty scuffed. Um, I guess if anyone wants to like reach out to me, I would say just reach out through Club Closer. You can find me in Club Closer, or if you really want to, you can contact me via Facebook. Yeah,
Sweet. I'll yeah, if you give me a link to that, obviously the podcast you
we'll
just
do
set
it.
up, I'll drop it in the
100%.
description.
Yeah,
All right, Sam. Appreciate it, bro.
I appreciate it, bro. Peace.